You can be a thief, a murderer, a liar, a drunkard, an idolater. You can be involved in all kinds of sin, and God can deal with someone who's involved in some kind of sin. But there's one kind of people that God resists. In the book of James, it says that God resists the proud. And if a land, if a country, a nation is being plagued by sin, and if there was ever a nation in this world that is presently being plagued by sin, it is America. It does. Second Chronicles 7:14 doesn't say if the sinners will humble themselves. It says if my people will humble themselves.
Amen.
In other words, if a church, if the church doesn't humble itself before God, then God resists the church. And that's what's going on today. In America especially, we've got a world of church people that are so filled with pride. Pride over their pastor, or pride over their praise team, or pride over their church building, or some kind of pride. Come hear our pastor. Come hear our praise team. Come see our beautiful building. Come be part of our great program. And the presence of God isn't there. Why? Because of the pride. Pride is a terrible, addictive, and enslaving sin. When I was a young man, there were certain things that I took pride in. Things I'm not proud of today. And there are things that God is speaking to us as a church that we must pay attention to. Pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. You want to fall from grace? Let pride. I used to, and pride has cost me some things in the past. Pride will make you pay a price you don't want to pay.
Amen.
Because you not only reap the benefits, if you want to call it that, of pride. See, what pride does is exalts itself. It points fingers to me. Look what I've done. Look what I've accomplished. All the while, pride puts us in a position where we're in opposition with God. Israel continually disobeyed God, and they was proud in doing it. And finally God said, okay, if that's the way you want to do, if that's the way you want to be proud about yourselves and what you want and whatever, go ahead. Prepare to meet your God. In other words, God was telling Israel, we're fixing to get it on. I don't ever want to hear God say that to me. Never, ever. But that's what pride will do. Pride will cause destruction. Pride will cause a fall. And the American church has been being destroyed, and has been being ruined because she will not humble herself. All the things in the book of Revelation are about to fall upon us. And if you look at what's going on in the world right now, there is no way, unless you're just totally blind, that you can't see that the one world government is soon coming to pass. Before the one world government takes place, the church is going to be taken out of here. Before the church is taken out of here, there's going to be a great harvest, and the Spirit of God is going to be poured out. So if you can see the one world government forming now, then you have to be able to see that we are in the times where God is getting ready to pour out His Spirit, but He will not do it to those who are proud.
Amen.
He says, if my people, which are called by my name, if we're going to claim that we are Christians, then we have got to humble ourselves and say, God, whatever you say about me is true. In fact, Lord, I don't know altogether what you think of me, but I want to know.
Amen.
I want to know the worst of my case now. I don't want to stand before the judgment throne of God and hear God say, Gary, you remember when I dealt with you on this and you didn't obey?
Why is that?
I want to be able to hear Him say, well done.
Amen.
But if we refuse to humble ourselves before God, in obedience to God, surrendering our lives, our wills, our every moment of every day to Him, if we fail to do that, then we're putting ourselves in opposition with God. And trust me, if you oppose God, you will lose.
Amen.
If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray. Jim Cymbala, pastor of the Brooklyn Tabernacle Church, said, I would love to see prayer put back in schools. But he said, I would much rather see prayer put back in church.
Look, your mommy is showing me up there.
How many churches do you know of are known for their prayer meetings? How many people do you see, hey, come to our church on Wednesday night, we're going to have prayer. In the Brooklyn Tabernacle Church on Tuesday nights, they meet at 7 o'clock. And the sanctuary there is full. There's not a Tuesday night of prayer that goes by where there are less than 2,000 people that gather there to pray. 2,000 people on a Tuesday night in New York City gather to pray. They have a right to expect something. They have a right to expect the presence of God to show up. We have got to get back to prayer, guys. We have got to get back to prayer. God does nothing but in answer to prayer. Prayer is our connection to Him. Prayer is what will help us to learn what it is that's in His heart, and to find out if our heart is in tune with His. Prayer is the only place that we can go to take our petitions to God. Prayer is the only place that we will find revival. Prayer, God's not going to come back and pour His Spirit out on a church that isn't praying. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face. What does that mean? That means seeking God's approval. Not what I want to do, not what anybody else wants me to do. Lord, what do you want me to do? I want your approval. Listen, I love y'all, but I don't need your approval.
Come on.
I hope that the word that I preach to you means something. I hope that it helps you to grow. But I don't need your approval for me to preach this word. And as long as God gives me the breath and the ability to do it, I'll keep preaching His word. But I can't preach His word unless I seek His face. I don't preach to please you. I preach to please Him. His approval is what I seek. His face, His blessing is what I want. Not what the world cares about, not what anybody around here cares, and not even what you care about. I want His approval. That's why I seek His face in prayer. And then turn from our wicked ways. I believe that until we leave this world, whether in rapture or in death, we will continually hear God tell us, if we listen, son, daughter, I want you to change this. He that dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. If we're going to dwell in the secret place, if we're going to have intimacy with God, then we must be able to hear what He has to say about anything He wants to talk to us about us. And if He says, turn, you better turn.
Amen.
And if we do, He says, I will forgive their sin. America needs to sin. Isaiah 6. He says, I saw the Lord high and lifted up. And then after he sees this vision of the Lord, he says, woe is me, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell amongst a people, a nation of unclean lips. In other words, what Isaiah was doing, he was identifying with his nation, that his nation had sinned. And guys, America has sinned. America is sinning today. In the halls of Congress, in the political realm of this nation, it has become the most, I believe, one of the most corrupt nations in all the world. And God will judge.
Amen.
But not only is our government corrupt, but we've seen corruption creep into the church where there is no fear of God anymore. The fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. Why is there no fear in the church? People go to church to get feel good, to have a bunch of feel good jollies. They're not going to hear, thus saith the Lord. They're not going to be corrected. They're not going to have God lead them in the direction that He wants them to go. They're going there to feel good. They're going there to have their ears tickled, to tell them that they're okay in everything that they do. I could go through a list of TV preachers that will not talk about sin. But America is a nation packed full of sinners. Why? Why is America in the shape it's in? It's because the church is in the shape that it's in. We here this morning, we can't speak for any other church but ourselves.
Amen.
And if there is sin in our lives, we better deal with it. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven, I'll forgive their sin, and I will heal